Flies are present everywhere around the world. Since some of them have medical and veterinary importance, it is necessary to be able to identify them, to know or to get rid of them. I am Almandumoy. In this video, I'm going to talk about housefly, hornfly, facefly, and stablefly. The binomial name of housefly is Musca domestica. It is a well-known cosmopolitan pest of both farm and home. It belongs to the family Musidae as well as hornfly, facefly, and stablefly. Housefly is native to Central Asia, but now it occurs in all inhabited continents from rural to urban areas. Housefly is about 6 to 7 millimeters long, usually gray. Its whole body is covered with small hairs that serve as taste organs. It has 4 black stripes on the thorax, compound eyes with thousands of individual lenses, and a spongy mouth part. Females, usually larger than the males, can be also distinguished by the relatively wide space between the eyes. Houseflies shows a complete metamorphosis with distinct egg, larval, pupal, and adult stage. Females can lay up to 500 eggs in several batches of 75 to 150 eggs on animal excrement and garbage. From 8 to 16 hours, the eggs are hatched to give the larval stage called maggot. After going through 3 larval instars, they reach the pupal stage and finally they metamorphose to reach the adult stage. Under optimal conditions, housefly can complete its life cycle in 7 to 10 days and the adult can live about 25 days. Housefly feed on a wide variety of food, including human food, animal food and carcasses, garbage and excrement. And without food, an adult housefly will survive only about 2 to 3 days. Although houseflies don't bite, they can cause several problems. Not only they are annoying, but they can also take pathogens such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoa and nematodes from garbage and then transfer them on food, fruit, or on anything they are landing on. Therefore, several diseases such as typhoid fever, dysentery, tuberculosis, anthrax, and ophthalmia have been documented to be related to them. Since houseflies have medical and veterinary importance, their management becomes an obligation. First of all, a good sanitation is the basic step to get rid of them. Since food and materials on which they can lay eggs are not available, this is going to break the breeding cycle and reduce their population. In parallel, people can use traps to catch adults, or they can use insecticides such as adulticide to kill them at their adult stage or larvicides to kill the larva. Musca autumnalis, commonly named facefly, is a robust fly. As a matter of fact, it is one of the most difficult pasture pests to control. Facefly is distributed in Europe, Central Asia, North India, Pakistan, China, and some parts of North Africa. It was introduced into North America in the 1940s. Now it is found in southern Canada and into more temperate parts of the United States. It can be easily confused with the housefly because of its 4 dark bands on the thorax, although it is larger with 6 to 8 millimeters long. Moreover, it's darker in color than the housefly. Concerning the life cycle of facefly, after overwintering in protected places such as walls of homes or other buildings and shades, they emerge around March to early April, and females start laying eggs on fresh manure. Within hours after deposition, the eggs hatch to give the larva that feeds on the microbial flora and fauna of the manure. Then they give the pupa and finally the adult. The first stage life cycle takes about 15 to 25 days depending on temperature. Being a non-biting fly, facefly feeds on animal secretions, nectar and dung liquids. In fact, females are facultative feeders. They feed on mucus and the watery secretions around the eyes, nose, and mouth of cattle and horses, or on plant nectars, while males mostly feed on nectar and dung. It's important to say that fish fly can travel several miles to find a host or food sources. Fish fly is a serious pest. They can affect livestock by causing annoyance, loss of appetite, and their feeding process can even cause tissue damages in feeding areas on the host. In parallel, they can mechanically spread diseases such as dysentery, pink eye. Then they are also known as food poisoners and virus carriers. In this context, several techniques are used to control fly populations. People use dust bag, oilers, sometimes they can spray the whole infested animal or they can use ear tags and foods in which insecticide have been incorporated. Fly control can be very difficult because it is not on the host most of the time. Horned flies are one of the most economically important pests of cattle worldwide. It was introduced to North America from France in 1887. This pest is now found almost everywhere on the American continent, as well as in Europe, Asia, and the non-tropical regions of Africa. The horned fly is about half the size of the housefly. They have small heads, downward pointing antennae, and the thorax has two parallel stripes on the dorsal surface just behind the head, and both sexes have piercing sucking mouth parts. Hornfly has a holometabolous life cycle. That means four distinct life stages with complete metamorphosis, including egg, larva, pupa, and adult. The life cycle is completed from 10 to 20 days. A single female hornfly lay about 400 to 500 eggs in fresh cattle manure. Normally, females need to take a blood meal to be able to reproduce. Hornfly population peak is in early summer and in fall. Hornfly can be found on the back and sides of the animal. During the heat of the day, they will migrate to the belly. Both male and female feed exclusively on blood. They need about 20 to 30 blood meals per day. They feed primarily on cattle, but sometimes they might feed on horses, dogs, swine, and even humans. Considered in the past as one of the most economically devastating pests of the beef cattle industry, flies can have a negative impact on leather and milk production by affecting quality leather and reducing milk production. In parallel, hornfly is known to be the vector of several pathogens. They transmit the nematode species causing staphylophilariasis, a skin irritation along the ventral midline of cattle, and they also transmit several bacteria species causing mastitis, which is an infection in dairy cows. Concerning their management strategies, there are many chemical application methods available to reduce on-fly populations. For example, we have back rubbers, dust bags, insecticidal ear tags, pour-ons, oral larvicides, and sprays. People also use walk-through traps. While the cattle move into the trap, flies leave the animal and are then trapped or killed by sticky traps or electrocution. Another way to trap them is to set controlled fires in pasture that are their breeding sites. The stable fly is a field fly of worldwide medical and veterinary importance. It is also known as dog fly because of its preference for canine hosts, and biting housefly because of its similarity in appearance to houseflies. They can be found mostly in temperate habitats. The stable fly looks very similar to the housefly in size and in coloration. However, it can be easily distinguished from other common domestic flies by the long proboscis which extend in front of the head and the seven circular black spot in a checkerboard pattern on the abdomen. Concerning their life cycle, females normally lay eggs by small groups in moist and decaying organic matter. One female can lay up to 800 eggs in her lifetime. The life cycle is completed between 12 to 20 days through four stages where the third instar larva has particularly a mouth hook into posterior spiracles. Stable flies feed specifically on blood. Usually they take one blood meal a day from the legs, sides, back, and belly of cattle and horses. Sometimes they feed on people, pets, and other mammals. Both sexes feed on blood, while in most of the cases, the female feeds on blood to obtain protein for egg production, and the male survives on nectar, sugar, etc. Stable flies are diurnal. During warm periods, they feed early in the morning or in the late afternoon. In cooler periods, they feed in the middle of the day. Stable flies can have different effects on the host closely related to their feeding process. Although their bites are extremely painful, unlike many other blood-feeding insect bites, on humans the bite site does not appear to be irritated, and bites rarely result in allergic reaction. As an obligate blood feeder, they are vectors of blood-borne zoonotic diseases. Thus, their ability to transmit pathogens that cause diseases such as anthrax, equine infectious anemia, anaplasmosis, and aborigines have been documented. Since stable flies breed in livestock wasps, moist and decaying organic matter, removal of the breeding source might be the best method to eliminate them. You can also try to find their resting areas, which are most of the time sites of barns and buildings, around fences, inside and outside animal stalls, and you spray them with residual insecticide. You can also directly spray the insects by a contact insecticide, or you can set up different types of trap to catch them. Definitely, there are some obvious reasons why people do not want to see flies around. Fortunately, there are several methods that people can use to control flies. Therefore, the next fly I see,